Forms of stalling, procrastination, people love to talk and overconsume info. This one.
Procrastination is not something that I alone have felt pain from. So today we're gonna figure out and get more precise on what procrastination is, and more importantly, understanding what it is so that we can notice when it's coming up and cut it out of the picture so that we no longer waste time. We no longer start thinking about what we're supposed to do and creating anxieties and stories within our minds, but we cut the cord. We understand what procrastination is, and therefore, through the depth of understanding, we create some freedom, and the grip of procrastination becomes much weaker. So one of the most common forms in which procrastination comes through is an overstimulation, an overconsumptive mind. A mind which cannot go for a walk without anything. And just observe. See, the average Joe is probably disgusted by that statement. The idea of going for a walk with nothing in their ears. No phone or phone on airplane mode, but no consumption. No stimulus, just a walk. So procrastination, one of the most common forms, is specifically watching, consuming videos, doing all the courses, but never starting your own project. Because is it through consuming that you learn, or is it through the actual doing? And then through the doing, the realization of the details that could never be scratched through solely consuming, right? So when we are continuously stimulating ourselves, always consuming, our minds are so full that we have no clarity around what it is that is actually going to move the needle, what levers we're actually meant to be pulling on a daily basis to get us where we're meant to go, right? Sometimes procrastination is just this continuous education. I'll be ready when. Once I do this, then I'll start. If you notice yourself repeating those phrases frequently, you have to realize that there is never going to be a time where everything comes together. The truest form of learning can only happen through going into the dark and starting, putting things out there. So just simply don't be so hard on yourself. Realize when you're procrastinating. Understand that procrastination creates anxiety and overthinking, a creation of fear around what you could be doing. And the simplest thing here is just to get granular. Ask yourself a question like, what's the simplest way for me to put one foot forward today in relation to whatever category that you're really looking to build in? That's probably the simplest way to move yourself forward.
Yeah, and I feel so procrastination can have a lot of different reasons, and I've been there too. And from what I observed, it's often a lack of trust. Like you don't trust that you already have enough. You've got the feeling of, I don't have enough information, I don't have enough skills, I'm not ready. So this is like a projection of, you have the feeling something is lacking, and it might be self-worth, and you're projecting this onto the project you'd like to bring forward. And therefore you're like, oh yeah, I need to consume one more bit, and then I think I've got it. But once you consumed it, no, you still feel the same. So you're in an endless loop. And I feel this loop can be exited by realizing you already have everything you need. You are enough, and you are worthy of achieving your goals. And everything is there already. The solution is there already too. All you need to do is implement. And I feel this is also something maybe society trains us to believe, because, of course, for instance, social media keeps us in an endless loop, and news probably, which you shouldn't consume anyway, but especially social media. So you're like in this endless loop of, oh, I need to watch the next video, I need to read the next post, I need to, and so on. And taking a break and taking a deep breath and realizing I've got so much. And probably you've got like free ebooks, bought ebooks, so many resources you never even went through. And this is like starting with what you have and realizing, yeah, that's enough. And you can trust yourself. And so this at least did the trick for me. I'm sure there are many ways and many angles why this is occurring and how to solve it, but this is one way.
Right. It will be a little different for everyone, but when you brought up the self-worth, that's kind of where we can draw like factual comparisons, or something deeper than a comparison, but we can realize how similar human minds are. And when we get to a pillar such as self-worth, self-esteem, confidence, how does this correlate to procrastination? Well, more often than not, procrastination is the masquerading of a lack of confidence. Why? Well, because if you were confident, you would go and apply what you learned. You would learn something or have some knowledge, consume a video, and immediately take a few notes and take the time to figure out, like, how am I going to implement at least one thing from this video into what I'm building right now? And you see, a lack of confidence brings you to a place of, I just don't know what to do, and I don't know how to implement anything from this video. And then the open loop, the feedback, the endless cycle is just continuous consumption and no actual execution on what is learned. So now, to make this just easy for you guys, not stressful, you just kind of have to create a sort of funneling system so that when you consume things, you at least grab a nugget. Right? I'm not at all saying that you have to take everything you consume and implement it immediately. Rather, listen to things and take a couple notes, shoot yourself a text, transfer your phone notes or whatever platform you're taking notes on, transfer those notes to something physical. And then therefore, both your technology has some notes of what you're learning and your physical planners have notes. And then there's no big deal. Just have like a ideas section, a reminder section, and write a few key nuggets down. And then throughout the weeks, as long as you look at your planner, you make your planner every Sunday, and then you slowly say, not slowly, all in your time, no rush, you just take something from the ideas or reminder section, and then you put it into your days. And hey, if you get it done, wow. And hey, if you don't get it done, you're at least trying. And then you can just transfer it to another day if you weren't able to get it in that day. No rush, no big deal. So you see, like with planners, with structure, we don't want this stuff to make us feel bad. We don't want to consume information due to being rooted in fear and lacking confidence, and therefore not being able to act on what we consume. We want to consume things in a way where it actually helps us evolve. And what I just summarized is essentially the lever to pull, the needle that's going to move in terms of your evolution. So just a simple way to procrastinate less. Take a few notes, transfer it, have a little system. Make it stress-free. Don't get so wound up if you checked off like 3 out of the 4 things you wanted to do, and the 3 things you did were the needle moving, lever pulling things for your main project. You're doing good. You're doing good.
Yeah, I feel especially focusing on one thing and then getting it done. Because I feel like, of course, when you have too many things because you consume so much, then then you're kind of confused, and then you maybe jump from one thing to the next. You don't have clarity which one is important, or a needle mover. Mm-hmm. And the system you just described, this is perfect because it means you consume, you basically brain dump what you learned, and then you filter, and then you're like, which ones of these can move the needle for me? And then you focus, like really zoomed in on one thing and get it done, and like really finish it and then move on to the next. And exactly, and there's no rush, all in your own time. And it's also, I feel like, when you focus on only one thing, then it even feels kind of like regenerating, even when you're working or playing, whatever you want to call it, depending on what you're doing. And because this jumping from one thing to the next, which is also a form of, this insecurity, this is draining. But focusing on one thing and getting it done, this is recharging. And before you know it, you're like, oh, this is off the list. How nice. And then go celebrate. I feel this is important too, to celebrate. Yeah, I implemented a needle mover. And then before you know it, the needle gets moved and you move forward and things are suddenly happening. And and this is a system, and of course also a habit. And I feel especially, so for me, like at least once per week, I check, what did I write down? What did I learn? Because I forget. I just forget. It's so much sometimes. And then I lose focus. But just by having this habit of, okay, I revisit once per week at least, what did I write down? And then do my filtering process, put it in my weekly planner, and then I'm good to go.
The idea of filtering, if there's anything, like that's kind of one of the pillars here, because you consume things and say, the truth is that we are so blessed to have the amount of information out there. And the last thing that a wise lady or man would do is to turn an amazing blessing into a curse. But the fact of the matter is that is what is occurring within humanity. The average Joe is absolutely stuck on an overconsumptive lifestyle. And that is one of the direct correlations to the amount of anxiety and pain and internal confusion that humans feel. Because as Myra was speaking on, if you're constantly consuming, it gets a little bit chaotic. And that's why such a simple system as we've laid out here can help you balance out that chaos and inevitably subtract the chaos from your mind. And what do you know? What's funny is when you start filtering more and subtract chaos from your mind, procrastination becomes less powerful because you're more clear through this filtering process on what is valuable to you, what is most important to you, what is the business action to pull today, what is the physical action to pull today, what time of day do those actions mesh best with my lifestyle and my structure, etc., etc., etc. So we kind of gave you a nice smooth system. Now, I don't want you to agree with me. I don't care. And I don't want you to disagree either. I'm just saying, just maybe consider playing with this. Test it out. Use it in a experimental perspective. Because there might be a few nuggets that you get from this that change your life. And there might be a few things where you're like, I wrote that down, but me. And that's okay. That's okay. So Lastly, if you're interested in going more in depth, because, hey, maybe you thought this was precise today, but all I can tell you is there's more depth. And in terms of healing internal pain, that's where I'm focused. So if any of you guys listen to this and you just notice, wait, I kind of feel a little bit smoother, clearer, better while listening and after listening, well, maybe the one-on-one work is something that can change your life, just maybe. So if you're curious, if you want more insights, more information on my offer, I got my email in description. Just shoot me an email. Give me some context about where you're at right now. We'll just have a conversation and we'll see what comes out of it. Appreciate you. If you're on YouTube, drop a like, reply. Would love to interact with you guys. If you're interested in any of Myra's work, in her offer, in anything that she's producing, get in touch with her. Shoot her a DM, and I'll have her link in description as well. I'm grateful. I appreciate you guys, sincerely. Share it with a friend. Anything else on your end?
You summarized this way. So, productivity and having a flowing life. I mean, this is it's a lot of things you can do, but then it's only a few things you can do, and they have a high leverage, and that's what it's all about. Flow.